Okay, it's been 1 year since Nyjah Huston released his Need That part by Nike SB, and so I thought it'd be cool to show the behind the scenes and what it takes to put an animated segment like this together. So let's start with the premise. This was pitched as an homage to Arto Sari's Flip Sari part, and you can see the similarities in the way the skater bails and eats complete shit, and so that was the idea, to do something inspired by that as a way to pay respects to Arto, and I think it came out pretty well in that aspect. The next step was designing his character, so I originally went with the Nyjah 2s in his outfit, but this was going to coincide with the release of the Nyjah 3s, so we went with that instead in his outfit, and then we replaced the monster hat with a Nike SB hat. And for the skateboard graphic, I kept it pretty simple, just the Disorder logo in the center, but then I was sent this image as a reference, so we went with that instead. So here's the final character design, and once that was approved, the next step was to start rigging the character so it's ready for animation. The benefit of having a rigged character is that you don't have to redraw the assets every time. You're essentially having a puppet that you can move around freely. And this works to your benefit when you have a character that has a lot of tattoos like Nyjah on his arms and legs. And if you have to redraw that every time, that would be a nightmare. So yeah, having a rigged character was pretty beneficial. Once I have the character rigged, I can move on to the animation stage. So first, I'll draw a rough layout of the background so I can overlay the animation on top and get all the timing right, like he's running down this path, he's going to kickflip backsmith the handrail. And I have all these red outlines so I know exactly where he's going to be hitting, and I don't have to commit to drawing the full detailed background yet. I completely forgot about this. I originally had Nyjah bailing on the handrail and doing a more like spins and front flips, which look more exaggerated and comedic, but they were looking for more of a impact, so we went with this instead, where he just slides and completely just loses skin on his face. And I think that looks sick, and then I added the dust particles to give it that more cartoon effect. This scene where he picks up the skateboard I thought was interesting because I actually kept the rough animation overlaid on top of the cleanup animation, because usually rough animation looks a bit more loose and vibrant, and I didn't want to lose that with this scene because of the nature of the scene of him like just recovering from a bail and he's like reaching for the board, and I wanted his arm to look very jittery, so keeping the rough animation on top I thought added to that looseness, and so I think it came out well in that aspect. Going back to the beginning of the animation, I have this scene where Nyjah is kicking his truck down, which is something that he does in real life actually before he sets up for a trick, and yeah, I believe that's just to keep the base place centered on his truck, or to stop the bushings from favoring one side more than the other when he's turning his trucks. But yeah, I thought it was a cool thing to put in the animation because when you're skating, you do pick up these weird habits like most of us do before you set up for a trick, and whether that's just to put you in the right mindset or make you focus, it just gives it a bit more personality instead of him just going for the trick straight away, you know. And the last part of the animation was to animate him saying his phrase, "Need that." So I went through a bunch of takes of that and just picked the right one to lip sync. And here's the reason that he called it Need That, this whole video part. This is a quote from him. "After all these years of skating, I've started to realize more and more that sending my body down big spots isn't a want, it's a need. I really do need that." So yeah, that's where the name for the video part came from. For the background, we were going for the traditional LA high school vibe, you know, you got the picnic tables, the handrails, but then you got this insane handrail, which, to be honest, Nyjah could probably hit, and it's kind of like El Toro, but on steroids. So those are all the main steps it takes to put an animation like this together. I put in a few sound clips, rendered it, sent it off to Nike. And Travis, the filmer and editor of this video, killed it. The spots, the filming, it was all done so well. With the video being a year old now, it was cool to go through the archives and find some stuff that didn't make it into the final cut and put together a making of piece to see how an animation comes together. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody at Nike for giving me a chance to be a small part of this project, and I still get stoked every time I watch this part, and I can't wait for whatever Nyjah is planning to release next. But yeah, I hope this was informative, and if you got any questions, feel free to reach out, and thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Peace.